How to count the number of atoms in a chemical formula. In a chemical formula, we learned that subscripts in the formula tell how many atoms are present of that element. And if there is no subscript, then it simply tells that the number of atoms is 1. Example, NH4Br, ammonium bromide. First, let us identify the element present. We have nitrogen, we have hydrogen, and we have bromine. So the number of atoms, look at the formula. The subscript of nitrogen is understood as 1 because nothing is written, right? So that is why we have 1 nitrogen atom. Now, the subscript of hydrogen is 4. So that means we have 4 hydrogen atoms. Now, the bromine has nothing written, so understood as 1. So you have 1 bromine atom. So that means that ammonium bromide has 1 nitrogen atom, 4 hydrogen atoms, and 1 bromine atom. Now, when a parenthesis is written in the formula, multiply everything on the inside by the subscript outside. So, example is NH4 parenthesis 3 PO4, ammonium phosphate. First, identify again the element. We have nitrogen, we have hydrogen, we have phosphorus, and we have oxygen. So, to determine the number of atoms, we learned that the subscript multiplied by the subscript inside multiplied by the subscript outside, the parentheses. So, inside the subscript of nitrogen is 1, multiplied by the outside the parenthesis, the subscript is 3. So 1 times 3. So there are 3 nitrogen atoms. So look very closely at hydrogen. The subscript inside the parenthesis is 4. So that means you have to multiply subscript 4 by the subscript 3 written outside the parentheses. So that is why you have 4 times 3 equals 12 hydrogen atoms. Now next, phosphorus. Phosphorus is not included inside the parentheses. So you don't multiply it by 3. Okay? So as you can see, the subscript of phosphorus is 1. So you have 1 phosphorus atom. And the subscript of oxygen is 4. And so there are 4 oxygen atoms. Remember, the subscript written outside the parentheses has to be multiplied by everything inside the parentheses. Now, when a coefficient is written on the left of the chemical formula, multiply everything in the formula by the coefficient number. So let us have an example. 2 ammonium bromide. Coefficient is 2 and then NH4Br. So that means you have to multiply the coefficient by the subscript of the each atom. So this one, the subscript of nitrogen is 1. So that is why you have 2 times 1. You have 2 nitrogen atoms. The subscript of hydrogen is 4. So that is why coefficient 2 times subscript 4 equals 8 hydrogen atoms. And then bromine here is understood as the subscript is 1. So 2 coefficient times 1 subscript equals 2 bromine atoms. Another example is 2 coefficient ammonium phosphate. So again, multiply the everything by the coefficient. So the coefficient is 2. So that is why you have for nitrogen, you have 2 coefficient times the everything inside the parentheses. You have 1 nitrogen times 3 outside the parentheses, right? So 1 times 3 is 3 times 2 is 6 nitrogen atoms. Next is hydrogen. Inside the parentheses, you have 4 subscript of hydrogen multiplied by 3 subscript outside the parentheses and multiplied by 2 coefficient. So that is why you have 2 coefficient times 4 times 3 is 12. So that will come out to 24 hydrogen atoms. So phosphorus has 1 subscript here multiplied by the coefficient. So 2 coefficient times the subscript 1 will give you 2 phosphorus atoms. The subscript of oxygen in the formula is 4. So multiply by coefficient 2 times 4 oxygen atoms, 8 oxygen atoms.